You know, one of the things about the movie that I really liked, the whole romance thing between you and Paul Stewart, I was hoping they would play that up more.
Well,
what happened with that?
Well, we did have we had two more scenes. But, you know, the reason that Colonel Parker had Elvis do movies was to make records. And they needed two more records for an LP. So they had to cut the one song that he sang to the girl, to Just Dolores, was made after the normal filming. And so there is a scene where Paul asked me to marry him. And he had brass knuckles on. And he put the brass knuckles on my hand. And that was my engagement to Paul Stewart, who was a beautiful actor.
Oh,
you know,
he's great.
Walter Matthau and Paul Stewart and Carolyn, who I just love.
Carolyn Jones was fantastic in this movie. She was terrific.
She was a personal friend of mine. She was
really?
She was married to a friend of mine before
Aaron Spelling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Carolyn was just she was born as a blonde.
Yes, in fact, some of her earlier roles where she had small parts, I think, in The Big
She
Heat.
was actually born
she was
as a blonde, but the minute she had that dark hair, she became quite something, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
she was
pre-Morticia.
just a darling person.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Now, when you made this, was Hal Wallace on the set a lot, or was it just Curtiz and the crew, basically?
Well, there was one person that Michael Curtiz was having a problem with, and which will be nameless. I don't want to say who it was.
Okay.
But Hal Wallace came down, and they had a little talk, and he said, if anyone goes, it's going to be you, Mike. Mm-hmm. So
Hal was the boss.
Yeah, you better work with them.
Yeah. There was an interview that Matthau did with Leonard Maltin that he gave me for my book, and Maltin thought that Curtiz was a good teacher, but he said he couldn't remember anybody's name.
Oh!
Elvis was Elvie, and he said I was Valty, and he said
and I was Jan Shepard. Sheffield.
Gene
Never
Sheffield.
called me by my name.
Yeah.
Never.
When he made White Christmas, Bing Crosby was Binky. Matthau said, he said that, Curtiz would say to him, Valty, take it easy. This is an Academy Award scene.
That's right.
Camera will get all of this. Quit acting so broad.
And he also said, you make a lot of money, but pretend you don't make much money.
Pretend you're not a star.
Pretend you're not a star.
Pretend you're not a star.
But he was wonderful to work with because, like I said, he wanted someone else. He didn't even want Elvis. He didn't even know who Elvis was.
Right.
And but he was so pleased,
and
you could tell. And he didn't give. Elvis was a hell of an actor. He was a good actor.
And Mother Dolores said he would go and run his lines at night, and at the top I talked about him going to Wallace about he really wanted to be an actor.
Yes, he did, and he was a fine actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he really didn't give him a lot of direction at all. Mm-hmm. Any of us, actually, we got very little direction, but he was happy with what we did.
Right. Well, that's the mark of good actors.
I have to tell this audience how I met. You want to know how I met Elvis?
Yes.
Want to know?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you do a film, they insure you. So you must go to the studio doctor to have a medical examination. So they told me that I had to go. So I went to the studio and just, it was casual, just a shirt and slacks on. And I went, someone was in with the doctor, so I just waited in the lobby. And I heard this kind of joking around coming in the doorway. And it was Elvis with his friends. And he looked at me and I looked at him and we started laughing. He had a jacket on that looked like it came from the same bolt of material that my slacks were. It was really funny. I mean, and we started laughing. And he said, honey, either I'm going to have to give you my jacket or you're going to have to give me your pants. And that's how I met Elvis. But he was adorable. He was adorable.
Now, when we were talking on the phone leading up to this, you were telling me stories and I was asking questions, and then in the middle of this you go, yeah, that was when I helped Marilyn find her house. And so that was like a phone mic drop moment, because there's only one Marilyn Monroe. What was your relationship with her, and as far as finding her house? How did that all work out?
Well, actually, my husband was driving her and
Okay.
Natasha Lytez looking for a house in Beverly Hills at the time. Natasha was a coach at 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have Marilyn living with Natasha so she could work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with Natasha. And we
Okay.
lived down the street on Harper Avenue. I lived on this side, and Marilyn and Natasha lived right down here.
Right.
So we saw each other quite a bit, and we studied together.
Mm-hmm.
Because Natasha had a little girl, and the only time she could have a free day
Mm-hmm.
would be on a Sunday. So we told her, well, we'll take care of the little girl.
Was Natasha a good teacher, a good acting teacher?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
okay.
taught Marilyn all.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
my late friend Stanley Rubin, who produced River of No Return with Marilyn
Oh, that was wonderful.
and Bob Mitchum. Well, the director for that was Otto Preminger, who made Curtiz look low-key.
Yeah.
And Natasha was on the set. So when they would do a take, Marilyn would not look at the director, Otto. He would look at Natasha. And
They-
Otto banished her from the set.
Yes, she did.
Marilyn went and made a phone call. Daryl Zanuck the next day called Otto. Natasha was back on the set.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Well, I remember I was working with Natasha when Marilyn got her first really great job, was Asphalt Jungle.
Right. with
And she
John
ran
Huston.
up the stairs and she ran in and she said, I got the part. And we were all so happy for her.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Now,
She-
how long did you stay close to her or work with her on a?
Not that
basis?
long,
Yeah.
really, because she was under contract to Fox.
Right.
I was working at Fox a lot, so I got to see her.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd sit on the steps, and talk and see what
Right.
each one was doing. And I had gotten
Sure.
married and had my baby. You all saw my baby.
That rather
That's
large
another
baby.
wait. That's another story. Okay. Elvis got out of the service and was going to do GI Blues.
Right.
Right. And they needed a baby in GI Blues. And one day I was on the set, and Paul Nathan, who was Hal Wallace's executive producer, came up to me, and I had been at a party, Dolores's, and she had said, come on, we're having a party. I said, I can't, I have the baby here. And she said, bring him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and everyone, Earl Holliman, and all the kids from Valerie Allen, all the kids from Paramount were there. And so Paul wanted to hold this little, beautiful little boy, baby. And so I get a call from him, and he says, Jan, how old's your baby? And I said, I think he was 15 months in. And he says, Elvis is going to do another picture, and we need a baby. I can provide babies by the minute. But, and I said, does he have to cry? And they said, oh yeah, he's always crying. Elvis is holding him up and he's crying.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, I worked with too many children. No. I said, me you can have for nothing, but not my boy. Because he was just getting to the point where he trusted everybody.
Right.
And I didn't want them to
so why-
fool around with him.
Yeah. And
And he hasn't talked to me since. Where are you, Brandon?
Yeah. I was going to say, and he didn't have a SAG card either.
No, no, but I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
he's often said to me, it would have been all right, why didn't you let me cry?
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
no.
Well, you really have an acting family because your son is a prop master, has been so for many years, and your
40
husband Ray Boyle is an actor, was on the Life and Legends of Wyatt Earp, and did a lot of pictures. And how long have you and Ray been married?
Okay.
Uh-oh, stump the stars,
Okay, no,
folks.
I want all of you never to tell anybody this, okay? Don't tell anybody. We've been married 65 years.
All right.
Hold on, there's more. But that's with paper. But we've been 68 years together.
All right.
So we got 2 more years and it'll be 70 years.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Well,
And he's a hell of an actor too.
I believe
Wonderful
it.
actor.
Well, when you guys drove up, he has a small part in one of my favorite movies that no one cares about called Returning from the Sea with Neville Brand and Jan Sterling, shot on location in San Diego.
That's right.
In '54. I have to say that MeTV has been a great boon to people getting familiar because you did so much work in television.
Yeah, I did.
And every time I have Perry Mason on or Gunsmoke, there you are.
I know.
There you are. I mean.
I know. Do you know L.Q. Jones, the actor?
Of course I know.
Well, L.Q.'s a dear friend of mine. He called me on the phone the other day. He says, I actually saw a Gunsmoke that you weren't in. He said it was so good, so refreshing. But
that sounds like LQ.
That's LQ.
Yeah, that sounds like LQ.
Yeah, that's LQ.
Now, you not only were in Gunsmoke, but you were a close friend of Amanda Blake.
We lived together.
You lived together. What was
Well,
that was pre-Kitty days? Or before she got the part?
Pre-Kitty, yeah. I was working at iMagnin, and I was a secretary to the credit manager. And he said, there's a young lady who wants a credit card at iMagnins. Would you take care of it? So I went out, and here was Amanda. And I recognized her. She didn't know who the hell I was, but I knew who she was. So I was filling everything out, and she wrote her address, and I said, you live very close to me. And she said, yeah, we should get together sometime, you know. And I thought, sure. That's not going to happen. So anyway, she had my address, and one night, about 9 o'clock, she's in her sweat outfit, she's got her cat, and she's knocking on my door and saying, can I come in? And I go, what happened? And she said, oh, my mother and I got into a fight. She ran out, took all my furniture, and nowhere to sleep.
Oh, boy.
And I said, okay, come on in. And she stayed for 2 weeks, and then she said, I have a lease on an apartment on Hollywood Boulevard. Why don't you come and stay with me? I said, Amanda, I'm paying $25 a month here. I can't afford
$25 a month.
Yeah, remember those days? Yeah.
No.
And she said, look, why don't you just come and pay the $25? She said, because I have to stay there, you know, on a lease. So we went out and bought an ice box, and we had to get a big block of ice like every couple of nights. So we would sneak out at 2 a.m, go down to the farmer's market, and get a big block of ice, and then try and sneak in so no one saw us. And that was our life.
That was your life.
Yeah,
living large on Hollywood Boulevard.
Except for one, do you want to know a little frisky thing about my Amanda? What? Oh yeah.
That's a yes.
Not that frisky. Yeah. No, but one night we were having company, and her boyfriend had come over, and some other people were going to come, and she was in the kitchen cutting a salad, and her boyfriend walked in and said, "You're not cutting this salad right." And she slammed the knife down, she slammed the food down, she went in the bathroom and locked the door. Now, I had been working all day at iMagnus, and I wasn't about to go through this. And I says, Amanda, please come out. I'm tired. We've got to get this food ready, and they're going to be here any minute. And she said, no. And I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm going to kill myself. And I said, how? And she said, well, I have a razor blade. And I went, oh my God. Amanda, please, will you stand in the bathtub? I don't want a mop of blood all over the floor. And she came out, and she said, you didn't care. I said, yes, I did care, but I don't want a mop of blood, man, and you know that. And then we started laughing, and that was our relationship. You know, we could just say anything. She had an MG then, and we used to drive around Hollywood Boulevard in her open MG. What is that year in that MG? That was a long open. What?
53?
Yeah.
Knew there'd be a
Yeah,
car
that's what,
expert
it was
in
a
this
red
diverse
one,
crowd.
a red one. And we used to drive along Hollywood Boulevard just being so happy
And being young.
and being young.
Well, I think, Jan, you have made us all feel young tonight.
Really?
This is fantastic. We could go on another hour, but the hour is late, and I think it has just been such a joy having you here.
Well, it's such a joy to be here. Really, I was very excited.
And happy Mother's Day to
Oh,
you and
thank
all
you.
the other mothers. Can't top that. Thank you so much, Jan Shepard, and good night, everybody. Thank you so much.